Hi, I'm Paul Pasulka, Ivy Masters Learning Center and ivymasters.com. Today we're going to look at Test 3, Section 3, number 14, which reads, what are the solutions to 3x squared plus 12x plus 6? So, first thing you should look for when factoring a quadratic is you could pull out a common factor here. So what's the greatest common factor? Between those three monomials, it's 3. And if I pull 3 out, open up the parentheses, I have x squared plus 4x plus 2 inside the parentheses equals 0. Now, what you could do is you just eliminate the 3. Why are you allowed to do that? Because if I divide this by 3, since I'm multiplying that whole side by 3, the 3's just cancel. And I divide this side by 3, then 0 over 3 is just 0. So essentially, what you get is x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Now, just looking at the nature of the solutions, you know that you have to either do the quadratic formula or you have to complete the square in order to solve this. We'll look at both ways. Using the quadratic formula is probably the way you want to go, but you want to make sure you know how to complete the square because you're going to have to know how to do that when you do circle questions. So, over here, I'm going to write the form ax squared plus bx plus c. That's standard form for quadratic formula. So, that's going to help you to get your a, b, and c for this. And some of you guys do this automatically. That's great. Just do it. But I'm breaking it down for those who don't know. In this case, a equals, what's attached to the x squared? Nothing's attached to the x squared. If nothing's attached to the x squared, you assume that it's 1x squared. What's your b? It's 4, because the b is always what's attached to the x without an exponent. What's your c? It's positive 2. C is your constant, comes at the end, it's also your y-intercept. So, what is the quadratic formula? So it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the whole thing, over 2a. So in place of all my b's, I put 4. In place of my a's, I put 1. In place of my c's, I put 2. Here we go. We have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 2. That whole thing's over 2a, so 2 times 1. And now you've got negative 4 plus or minus the square root of, well, you get 16 minus 8 there. So it winds up being 16 minus 8 is 8. And I made that root kind of long. I don't need it that long. But the whole thing over 2. Now I could factor the square root of 8. How would it factor? It would factor negative 4 plus or minus. Another way to write the square root of 8 is to write the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. When factoring, I always find it easier to write the perfect square first, because then it factors negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 all over 2. Now keep in mind, when that's over 2, it's actually the same as negative 4 over 2 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 2. So in other words, every monomial has to be a factor of 2 in order for you to reduce here. So what you wind up with is negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. That is your answer. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. It's a. All right, now we're going to look at the next. And what we'll see here is we're going to complete the square. So we're going to see, okay, Luciano wants to say good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lou. Okay, Daddy's just going to shoot a video, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'll be right out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, and I'm just going to pick it up with the x squared plus 4x plus 2, which is what we had before, equals 0, because we already pulled the 3 out of there. And now if we complete the square, what you want to do first is get the constant to the other side. So if I subtract 2 from each side, I get x squared plus 4x equals negative 2. And now to complete the square, what you do is you do b over 2 quantity squared. Remember your b here is 4. 4 over 2 is 2 squared is 4. So it's x squared plus 4x plus 4, because I plugged that 4 that's attached to the x in for the b and did my b over 2 quantity squared. I'm going to underline plus 4 because I have to remember to add it to the other side as well. And so now what I get is x squared. Actually, I just want to factor this as a perfect square at this point. I get x plus 2 quantity squared equals 2. And now if you subtract, actually we don't want to subtract, that's if we were putting it into a vertex form of a parabola, which we'll get to in another video. If you were to take the square root of both sides right here, then square root of x squared, that's just going to cancel it. And you get x plus 2 equals square root of 2. So it's going to be plus or minus the square root of 2. And now, in order to solve for x, I subtract 2 from both sides. And what you get ultimately is x equals negative 2. I'm just switching the order over here, plus or minus the square root of 2, which is the form that we get our answer in. Again, it's answer choice A. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You could share it with someone who has trouble factoring quadratics, or you could leave their name in the comments, tag them in the comments. If there's any question you'd like to see answered from any official SAT or PSAT or ACT, you can leave that in the comments as well. I'd be happy to shoot a video on it. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.